Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rent Free History, the show about history that lives rent free in your head. I am your host, Kemdi Wosu, and today I'm joined by a new guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, welcome. Well, I shouldn't say welcome. I'm so used to saying welcome to the show. My name is Stevenson LongBotom. I host a podcast called That Is Effin Weird. We talk about anything and everything odd that happens around the world. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So, what kind of got you into podcasting? Is like that's effing weird, like the final version of a show that you've been kind of developing over the years, or is it like a version? Because I was looking at your channel before, and I see that you have like different types of videos on there. So, are there like different shows that you used to do at one point?
So how That's Effin Weird came to be was it's not my first show. My first show was called The Abbey Normals. That show obviously is no longer around. It was kind of it was again my first podcast. I learned a lot from that one and then switched over, created this new one called That's Effing Weird. Been podcasting with the name for the last 3 years. The reason why I chose to start a podcast and talk about all these things is I've always had an interest in the odd and the strange. And I always felt like there's other people out there that probably want to talk about these topics too. And when I say strange things, it's could be UFOs, could be cryptids, folklore, really anything that's strange. And that's why I picked that name. That's effing weird, is because it's all encompassing of anything and everything that could be weird. So that's kind of how and why I started podcasting, really.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of went through like a similar phase where like this show wasn't the first show I've ever done. I had
Hmm.
a couple other shows. I had like a one that was centered towards like growing up and like getting older and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of fell apart because that show was like pretty reliant on like different guests to give their experience on what it was like in their lives, like at what point they felt they started growing up and if they felt like an adult at that point in their lives. And just like kind of like what like when they felt their childhood ended and stuff like that. And that show relied on guests, and I kept getting the same people on as guests, so it kind of became kind of redundant because you would just hear the same updates from the same people. And
Yeah.
then I tried a movie podcast at one point, but I just couldn't think of what made mine stand out, so I ended that, and now I have this show.
And it really is kind of interesting in how you like, and this is for anyone, how they evolve in their podcasting career and just like kind of like anything. I think like musicians and really like, because I would say this is a form of art, really, podcasting, where it takes a while to actually find your niche. And I can't tell you like from where That's Effing Weird has started to where it is now, it has changed, I would say, dramatically between the how we conduct the show, the hosts that have been on there, the guests that have been on there. It's really taken a long time to kind of, find your way and everything. And again, I feel like I'm still growing within the podcast world and still trying to figure out how I want to conduct my shows and who's going to be on it. It's ever evolving and yeah, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain if no one's if you haven't done podcasting before. It's because I again, you look at the numbers, and I at the end of my shows, I always like, I always tell my audience members like, hey, if you have any suggestions or if you want to see or hear anything specifically, just let me know. And when you don't get that feedback, it's kind of hard to know if you know what you're doing is right. But no, I completely understand, and I feel those growing pains when it comes to podcasting.
Yeah. And speaking of defunct shows, I wanted to talk about kind of pivot to our topic of today's episode,
Yeah.
which is defunct stores that no longer exist anymore. And yeah, I this is one of the topics I thought was really interesting. I recently did an episode about Blockbuster and how that kind of just like fell apart due to their own um, kind of hubris and kind of corporate politics and stuff like that, and a couple decisions of their own that just like really weren't their fault. Like they tried making a streaming service with Enron,
Oh, I did
which
not know
wasn't
that.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't go anywhere because of the whole Enron thing.
Yeah.
Um, and they offered Netflix offered to sell itself to Blockbuster twice, and they said no both times. So it's like sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not their fault, but things like that happen. And since you're the guest, I would like you to love for you to take this opportunity to go first, share your first store that kind of interests you, maybe like the connection that you have to it, and why you thought it was interesting to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, will do. But before we do that, I just want to add that like Blockbuster like side note thing in there where I Blockbuster, I remember just it being just a powerhouse of a video rental, game rental place. So it's so
Yeah,
crazy to think that I mean, they were around pre-internet, and then as the internet was like, starting up, and I just find it so hard to believe that they wouldn't have jumped at the opportunity to do the whole Netflix thing. Now, don't get me wrong, like I completely understand like the hesitancy because when Netflix I don't know if anyone like I forgot about this till when you really sit down and think about it, but Netflix started by it just being they send you movies in the mail. That's how it
yeah,
all started. And I can understand where a company is like, okay, hey, if I'm going to buy 100 DVDs of this and I send it out to people and they cost $20 each for me to buy that, and then I send it to people and they don't send it back, then I'm screwed. Or if it gets damaged, like I can see like where the hesitancy comes into play with like I'm putting a lot of trust in people. I don't think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe Netflix, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I don't know if Netflix offered uh Blockbuster their name when they had the streaming onto it. Like, did they or didn't they?
I think I know it was the whole company, so they would have gotten the whole company. What they would have done is they would have taken the losses on the DVDs. Like there were two different times. The one sadder one is that later on they basically said like, so anyone can basically we'll merge into Blockbuster basically, and people
Mhm.
can drop their Blockbuster DVDs off at any point, but they can also do the Netflix Blockbuster thing of like also like just getting their DVDs by mail, and they can drop them off also at a Blockbuster in a way similar to like what Redbox did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then you
Because
could also
I
go to the brick and mortar store still.
Because I remember that being a thing too, was like the whole Redbox or like
Yeah.
Redboxes. And there was a YouTuber not too long ago that I saw that was going over to now I think the video was a little bit older, might have been like 2 or 3 years ago, but they were going over to Redboxes to see if like they're still like operational and that you could still get DVDs. And
Yeah.
I want to say he visited maybe like 3 or 4 before finally being able to actually pull out DVDs. But that's the thing is like Redbox is no more. So like
Yeah.
why there were still DVDs in there and like how it was all working, I have no idea. But that would yeah, I do remember that being I feel like it wasn't even that long ago that all that stuff kind of stopped and it just has now just strictly streaming services.
Yeah. I mean, Blockbuster, there's one more left in Bend, Oregon. Redbox, there's like a couple. There was one that I saw in like because I used to live in Fullerton, and they there was one by like a gas station that I used to go to a lot that I at
Yeah.
least saw the last time around 2023. I know Redbox liquidated their assets around 2024, so I have no idea if it's still there. But I think there are a couple that just like are around, but like they're just like it's too much of a hassle to just like you'd have to call someone to come and just get rid of it. So
Yeah, right. So they just leave it up there.
pretty much,
Well, I guess with that being said, the first store that I want to talk about, and you, when we talked behind the scenes about like you wanted me to, pick something that kind of meant something to me. I feel like all the ones that I am bringing to the table kind of mean something to me and have like hold a special place in my heart.
yeah.
But the first one is Big Lots,
Mm,
and that one has of recently has gone out of business kinda. And the reason why I say kinda, I'll get into it, but I'll first explain why that one kind of hits home for me is that I remember my mom had to go to work a couple hours away, and then she would come home So, like, I wouldn't see my mom too much during the during the week. It was really just, like, in the morning quick, and then at night, I'd get to see her. And I remember on it was Friday evenings, she would come home a little bit later, but the reason why is because she would kinda go grocery shopping at Big Lots for us. And I say us because I had siblings. But she would come home and she would have the craziest stuff from Big Lots. And I don't know if anyone remembers, I don't know if you went shopping there, but they would always
A few times.
sell. What was it?
Oh, I was just saying a few times, yeah. I'd go with my
Okay.
dad.
And because they always had these outdated, or not outdated, but they always had like a couple seasons ago things for sale for super cheap. So I remember like having like Halloween cereal in the middle of summertime, or I'd have like Christmas stuff during Halloween. It was always crazy. So I always loved when my mom would come home and have like these, these treats and all these things. So that one kind of hit home for me. But let me get into kind of why Big Lots went out of business or why they went bankrupt. Now a lot of this stuff is kind of above my level. I'm not really into business and I don't know a whole lot about it. So some of these terms I'm kind of still fuzzy on, but Big Lots faced bankruptcy in late 2024, early 2025 due to high inflation, reduced spending by core budget customers on non essentials, increased operating costs, and leveraged balance sheets from sale lease details, leading to store closures and a sale to variety wholesalers, which is keeping some locations open under the brand, but shutting down many other ones. So again, some of that terminology I'm not too clear on, but what it looks like to me is that based on just like economics, just how the economy is going, they had to close down some of their stores or the majority of them. Economic pressure, so the persistent inflation and high interest rates hit Big Lots low income customer base who cut back on purchases like furniture, home
Yeah.
goods, and hurting sales. So that is something that I do remember towards the end of Big Lots, was that they had a lot of furniture stuff, and it was a lot of name brand stuff too, like Ashley. I remember they had a bunch of Ashley furniture stuff, and I remember walking around in that area, and it was a couple of $100 for like a lot of their furniture. And again, this was supposed to be, for me, I feel like again, Big Lots was supposed to be that like cheaper goods type of like, all right, hey, too much went some warehouses have too much of it, so the Big Lots bought it so you can get it at a discount price. To me, I
Yeah.
feel like towards the end they were selling stuff at like normal
A
price.
loss.
Yeah, so it was, I don't feel like anyone was buying their stuff. So that's just a little bit of the Big Lots thing. I'd like to hear your opinion on some of that already though.
I do yeah, I was, like, I'm wondering, like, because you mentioned increased operating costs. I'm like, "What why did their cost increase?" I'm assuming it either had to do with inflation or just maybe, like, whoever had, like, the lease of, like, that area was, like, trying to raise the rent to get them to, like, leave so they could put somewhere that could actually afford, like, the higher cost there, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I feel like it's again, well, like the whole concept behind Big Lots was that, it's for people with less income that they could go and shop there. So I could maybe see if like, all right, let's try to get rid of Big Lots, increase the price, then whatever. So maybe I don't know, but another reason why they went bankrupt was strategic missteps. So the retailer was criticized for becoming too expensive, offering uh, inconsistent product mix, and failing to provide an engaging treasure hunt shopping experience. So that's something that I know Walmart does a lot of, where they move around their store, so you have to like walk around like it. They just move their stuff around, and I think that was something that they got criticized for again, was that they don't move stuff around in the store, which I don't mind. I like knowing where things are in a store and I can go
Yeah.
directly there and just get it. I don't know how you feel.
I do think it's kinda weird because, like, there was, like, a Walmart that I went to all the time when I was a kid. Like, I don't think I've been there in, like, a year or 2 though, but, I I feel weird because they do move a lot of stuff around the store. Like I blatantly remember like where all like the food is now, like the food and produce and stuff like that, or where the
Yeah.
clothes used to be. And it's just like
Yeah.
kind of weird how that works.
It really is, and I don't know. So, again, some people don't mind the whole like shifting of the store, but I'm just one of those people that like I like to know that when I go into a store, I know exactly where to go. Now, again, I feel like for the most part, like obviously they cannot shift like the grocery aisle to the other side of the store, but I feel like they do mix and match. Like if the pizzas were in this aisle in the frozen section this month, they're going to be, a couple months from now, they're going to be down a couple. I feel like it's something where they can kind of do it like that, but not
Yeah,
necessarily
I'm probably
shifting.
remembering it wrong, honestly, like exactly
Yeah.
how it was. But yeah,
But a little bit more about the whole Big Lots thing. So Big Lots filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in September of 2024. Um, let's see here. This led to the closure of many stores, with variety wholesalers acquiring some locations to operate under the Big Lots name, while others were still permanently closed. And then to the current state of early 2025, while many stores closed, the brand wasn't completely eliminated. The new owner, Variety Wholesaler, is reopening some locations as Big Lots, aiming to return to a more traditional discount model with better values and products assortment. So again, that's why at the beginning of this I said it is closed, but it isn't. Just because you can see here that like the new owner I think wants to open it back, but again only in select locations and trying to get back to I guess maybe that business model. I guess we'll see what happens with it. I hope that it reopens and goes back to how it was, but who knows if that will actually happen or not.
Hmm. I mean, you
So
never
yeah,
know. There are stores similar to that where like they've shut down, they tried to like slowly start reopening. And one of those that I want to talk about next actually is Toys R Us.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So Toys R Us, a little brief history of Toys R Us is that they started around the where are you? Okay, here we are. They started in 1948 when a man named Charles Lazarus opened Children's Bargain Town, where he sold baby furniture. That's how it started
Okay.
off. That's what the company's like original like source of income was, selling baby furniture. But then they pivoted to toys, and by 57 they rebranded to Toys R Us, and the big box toy store model becomes a thing because of them. And throughout the 70s and 80s, there's this rapid expansion, not just national growth, but like international growth. They're all over the world. And, their dominance is fueled by like the high birth rates at the time because, the baby boom. And then, of course, like the Gen X
Oh
afterwards,
yeah.
like
Yep.
all those kids are growing up, and, their iconic advertising where like everyone wants to be a Toys R Us kid. And of
Oh
course,
yeah.
Jeffrey the giraffe.
So quick thing on the whole Toys R Us. Like that is a store. I'm glad you because that was on my list too of like stores I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad that you did because I remember there was only two times that I ever went into that store ever.
Really?
And yeah, I remember it just it I don't know, it was never on like again, it was Toys R Us and it was geared towards kids, and I think just my parents didn't wanna deal with it at the time, I don't know. But it was such an iconic store, and I always remember, like, this on the way home from, going to school or to my house, whatever, we would always drive by or the bus would always go by this Toys R Us, and I always wanted to go into it. And that was the one time, I remember I think I got a gift card for my birthday and I got to finally go into that store and it was so amazing and just the it was just I think it was just a different experience as a kid because this was like the first store that was like there was no adult stuff. It was all stuff for kids. And it was just like, whatever you wanted as a kid, it was in that store. Cause I remember always seeing commercials on TV, on cartoons of these cool toys, and it was always sold at Toys R Us. So I'm glad that you brought it up because that one again hits home for me as a kid.
Hmm. Yeah, me too. Before I get back into it, I spent like I remember like there were multiple Saturdays and either my parents or my uncle would like just take us there and like we didn't even care about like getting something. Like that was cool if we got something, but it was just cool just being there like window shopping, which I think is like a lost art nowadays because people usually just buy stuff online. But just
Yep.
like going there and seeing the display, seeing all the video games out everywhere, the rows of Legos and different action figures that I always wanted, and those giant balls that they'd have in like that cage, and
Oh,
that one
yeah.
kid that would try to like knock one out, and then they'd all go out. The bikes, the hula hoops, everything. Yeah,
I
it
feel
was
like
fun.
I feel like the way that, like, I got my fix like that was, again, like, going to stores like Target or Walmart because they had,
Mm,
like, that, like, section for kids, and they still do. Obviously not as big as Toys R Us, but I feel like
yeah.
that I kinda know what you mean when you say that because like, that's what I remember too.
And it's a good thing you bring them up because they're part of the story too. They're part of a lot of these stores actually, because 90s in the early 90s they become a public company, and they hold like significant market power, and they're like a household name by this point. But then late 90s, Walmart and Target come in and they expand their toy section. Around the same time, you also get the rise of a little online retailer called Amazon, and things aren't as like they aren't as dominant as they were in like the early 90s and before. And then in 2005, a private equity firm buys Toys R Us for 6.6 billion. But the way I was actually doing research earlier, and apparently when like private equity firms buy like brands like this for like 6.6 billion, they're not really buying them for 6.6 billion. They're essentially just taking that billion in they're taking like a large amount of that is just debt that they're saddling onto that company that they had to use to purchase the company.
Interesting, okay.
So they loaded Toys R Us with 5 billion in debt, which hindered any form of like reinvestment that they could have done. And then
Yeah.
between '06 and '09, like the late 2000s, they have this failed Amazon partnership that just like goes south. It never goes anywhere. And it leaves them behind because they haven't set up their website yet. And this is like the late 2000s. The internet's been around for a while now, and they have not set up their internet yet. So they're behind in e-commerce, and they're still struggling with debt payments, and they're kind of still just like going like on this kind of like downward spiral until 2017, which is when I first realized something was wrong, because I remember that year like I wasn't even really going to Toys R Us anymore. I was 16, but I just noticed like, I haven't seen any of those Toys R Us catalogs come in the mail anymore. And then I like saw some news report around the same time, and then they were like, "Yeah, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy." And then 2018, the next year, they just all the stores are closed. I still
That's
remember the one that I grew up with. Like there was like because there was a Toys R Us and there was a Babies R Us right next to it. Like that's how
that's
big.
right.
Yeah, and I just remember, like, slowly, like, I would just, like, drive in that big shopping center that was near my house, and then at first, it was just the stores closed, and I would look in, and then over the weeks, it would be like, "Oh, okay, so you can't even get in the store anymore because people tried to sneak in," and then it'd be, "Oh, okay, they're throwing away everything that's in the store," and then it was like, stuff is being boarded up, and then they finally I remember a bunch of us went to go look the day they took the signs down. It was, like, a big
Oh.
deal.
Did you find anything or
No, like, they wouldn't let us have anything.
That's a shame. That would've
Yeah,
been cool to get, like, the giraffe or the star with the R in it.
yeah. Little tangent on that, John Stamos, who played, Uncle Jesse in Full House,
Yeah.
he owns the original Disneyland sign. Like, that the Disneyland sign that they have now is only, like, from, like, 1995 or so onwards. The one that they used from '95 and before, when they first opened, is in John Stamos's backyard. He bought it
I
at
wonder
an
how much
auction.
for how much?
I don't know. It had to be in the millions.
It
Definitely in the
had to have
millions.
been.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
yeah.
Oh, and, like, the what again, because I was doing a little bit of research too, and the whole, thing that you brought up with the whole internet is like that is insane to me that they didn't have an online store, or they were so behind that they didn't have, like, I don't understand what they were thinking about. And I get like Amazon, to me, I feel like Amazon in the last like maybe like 10 years has kind of like really exploded, because I remember Amazon almost being, I feel like, on par with, like, eBay, in the sense where it was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, it's just like an online store," I didn't think too much of it, like, "Alright, Amazon, eBay, whatever." It's just Amazon's just another online store, but now if you look at Amazon, it's like, it's everywhere, like, you can buy
Yeah.
prescriptions, you can buy food, it's like Amazon is like the household name. So it really will be interesting to kind of see if Amazon does stick around, or if they do something and take a hard left and they fall behind somehow. I don't think so. I think the way that it is, they're always just going to be around. I could be wrong, but it sucks to see when your childhood stores or things that you grew up with get dominated by something like Amazon. It sucks, but I guess that's just how the world works.
Yeah. It's like a lot of those posts that I see on social media about the world you grew up in no longer exists.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, like, it's only natural. Like, I mean, things have to change. Imagine if we were still in like you know, going to like wooden shops in like downtown and like horses and wagons, like that would suck.
Yeah, or we didn't have
Well,
places in the mall that could clean your shoes, you know? We had to actually
yeah.
go to someone who would shine your shoes for you.
Well, okay, so now that you brought up the topic malls, that's the next one. If you don't mind, if we can
Yeah,
hop into
yeah.
the mall situation. Okay, so I wanted to bring up malls, because again, that was something that I grew up with. I would always walk around in malls with my friends. Just not like, almost like what you're saying. I wouldn't even really buy anything, but it was just like the experience of going there, just like seeing new things, just the atmosphere. If you got hungry, you could eat. It was almost like its own little city or village within your town. It was the coolest thing. I still think that they're cool, but let me kind of go into why malls are closing. So, malls are closing due to the rise of e-commerce, changing customer habits, less mall socializing, more online spending. The pandemic accelerated these trends. The decline of major anchor stores like Sears, Macy's, and overbuilding, forcing malls to become expensive, with housing, dining, services to survive as traditional retailers struggle. So again, it was a handful of reasons why malls, I think, around the country have closed. Now, again, not all of them have. Uh, I think there's still a handful out there, especially maybe like the bigger ones, but those I did not realize how much malls relied on those anchor stores, like the big names, Sears, Macy's, to actually survive. And I feel like once one of those stores go, then everything else just kind of crumbles thereafter.
Like
And then again,
JC Penney, yeah.
yeah, yeah, like a JC Penney too. And then the pandemic too, like it's sad that because of the pandemic, that was really, I feel like, the nail in the coffin for malls, because everyone was, scared for, like social distancing. No one wanted to get sick. Maintain your space. And malls are kind of dirty places. Like, there's a lot of traffic moving in and out. So I
Mhm.
get why people kind of steered clear of them, but because of that, then you see that malls are no longer around. So that's one that I kind of wanted to bring up. And then as far as let's see here, some other things, like, so shift in customer behavior, younger generations socialize online and not malls, and adults prefer the experience over just shopping. So again, kind of like something that I had said, like, I would just go there to walk around, and I guess the younger generations, they're so used to everything being online, that they much rather just do that than socialize in person, which is kind of interesting, because when you look at movies from the 80s, 90s, no one had phones in their hands. No one was,
Yeah.
checking Instagram, Facebook, whatever it was. It was you were going to a physical location to interact with people, and that's how you socialize. And it's completely different now. Not to say like one is better over the other. Again, times are changing, but
Yeah.
it makes sense why malls aren't around, because if you have the generation that just goes there for experience, not to buy, and then a whole completely another generation that just doesn't want to go there, they're gonna fail. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
yeah,
that was
I
a
think that Kevin Smith movie Mallrats more of like a documentary at this point nowadays.
yeah, right. Uh, yeah. So I did find something like with the futures of mall, like the future of malls. So
Yeah.
repurposing, successful malls are becoming mixed uses centers for housing, gym, offices, and even churches. So that is something that is kind of cool that I did see. Was that malls are now getting converted into places where people can actually live, and I thought that was the coolest idea, to like have like your home is like a storefront mall. Like that would be so cool.
It would be.
I don't know if I would actually do it and live there, but I think it's a really cool way to, repurpose these buildings and like keep them in use for people.
Sounds kind of expensive though.
It it does. And I'm wondering how you can make the juice worth the squeeze and everything like that. So again, yeah, because there's so many lights in those stores, and maybe if someone thought of you put solar panels all on the top, it cuts down on electricity that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Going back to the topic of Amazon, another service that kind of failed thanks to Amazon is the store Borders. I don't know if you remember Borders. It was like kind of like a competitor to Barnes and Noble.
I don't honestly like the name doesn't even sound familiar.
Yeah, I have like the faintest memories. Like I know I went in there maybe one or two times,
Yeah.
mainly because a book from my childhood has a Borders receipt in the as the bookmark.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I used to do that a lot with like old like receipts. If I couldn't find a bookmark, I would just like if I bought the book, or my parents bought the book, I would just ask them for the receipt and I would use them that as the bookmark.
Oh, okay. That's
Um,
smart.
yeah. And yeah, it was like it started off as a bookstore by these two brothers, Tom and Lewis, and their last name was Border.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Tom Border and Lewis Border, and they basically started off as a bookstore in a college town with like hard to find books in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Hmm.
And as they expanded, they wanted like to have like a certain amount of like respect and like kind of like in terms of like employees and stuff like that, that they wanted them to respect where they worked and care about where they worked and care about like career advancement and stuff like that. They wanted them to be highly knowledgeable about books, so they could talk to customers about them and be sort of like a prototypical librarian, but like one that's getting paid a lot more.
Yeah.
um they wanted like very clean buildings. They want everything to be organized, swept all the time, and this brand loyalty paid off because it caught the eye of Kmart, who had a bookstore division of their own called Walden Books. And then Kmart acquires Borders in '92, but unfortunately, Kmart was going through problems that eventually led to their own downfall in the late 2010s. And so Borders, along with Walden Books, were spun off into their own separate company 3 years later. So but Kmart only had them for about 3 years.
Okay.
And by '97, they're expanding globally. They're opening locations in Singapore, Australia, Puerto Rico, Ireland, and the UK. They have about 1.6 billion in sales around this time, and there's a fierce rivalry with Barnes and Noble. Their first misstep honestly comes in the late '90s when they tried launching their first website in 1998, but it didn't last long. It didn't work very well, and it cost them millions, tens of millions of dollars to upkeep. So they closed it pretty soon afterwards.
Wait, it cost
Um,
it cost millions of dollars to upkeep just like a website?
Yeah, this was during, like, the dot-com bubble thing, so they were just, like they
Okay.
didn't know people, like, in the early days of the internet. I'm sure I think you're a bit older than me, so you probably can tell that, like, people, like, back then, they were just throwing money at everything the way they do, like, crypto nowadays.
Yeah.
In terms of yeah, like, it was kinda like the opposite of, like, how, like, the stock market crash happened, and, like, and which led to, like, the Great Depression, where, like,
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Yeah, we'll just, like, put this on credit." And the bank's like, "Oh, we have no more money." But then the dot-com bubble burst was literally just, like, the opposite, where they're like, "Hey, we'll just give you lots of money right now, and hopefully that works out in the future." And then it didn't, and then yeah. But yeah, so it didn't work, and they were like, "Maybe we should get somebody else to help us with online stuff," and so they partnered with Amazon in 2001,
Oh.
and unfortunately, the partnership doesn't really, it never really benefited them, and, by 2007, they just Amazon drops their partnership because they're trying to start a book division of their own. And 2007 also doesn't help because the CD listening stations that they had, because they thought those would pay off, but there's iTunes and their 30-second preview, so why would anyone be still listening to CDs when they can do the iTunes 30-second previews? And the DVD sales, which they bought a lot more DVDs than they needed, so that
Yeah.
also didn't help.
Mm.
And then so the Amazon partnership ends in '07. So they also do not launch their own website until 2008.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is just wild to me that like I feel like from a business perspective with like all of these places, like why if because I think you can like clearly see if like that is the move to do. And now I get there's probably more when it comes to like, okay, if people buy from our, you know, buy from online, okay, now we have to set up these warehouses and like how's that gonna like we need to set up a whole nother division that is
Yeah.
managing like that aspect of it. So like, okay, I get why that doesn't happen, but to me still like it's that should be like in your radar or like someone within the company should like be like, you know, research and development like, hey, we should probably get a website so people can buy from us directly from the warehouse so we're like cutting down on other things. I'm sure there's again, I have no business degree. I don't know for sure, but to me that I don't know, that just is the move to do. So,
Yeah. And then, 2008 is already not a great year, but because of what happened later on in terms of finances. But the digital reader trend begins happening. Amazon with the Kindle,
oh,
and then
yes.
Barnes and Noble with
Yep.
the Nook. They both came out, and basically, Borders never developed one of their own. They really just they decided to just like go for some third party options that never ended up working out.
Yeah.
And international efforts, those Singapore, Australia, Puerto Rico, like those all kind of are petering out. They're not working. And Walden Books, like the division of Kmart that was spun off into its own separate company with Borders, they're mainly in malls, and they're shutting down in increasing numbers. Also around this time, the full-time employees, like everyone was kind of like that they talked about at the beginning, were like the founders who had already sold this company, the company by this point. They wanted people to like, care about books and like have full-time jobs and like get paid well and stuff like that. That era is over. Everyone there is working part-time. No one really cares that much. So the stores are kind of like going down in quality. Corners are being cut. And by 2011, they filed for bankruptcy. They eventually liquidated, and all stores are shut down by September 2011. There are a couple internationally that were left around for a while, but those have all shut down. There was one time, I think, in the early 2020s that they tried to bring it back in Singapore. Did not last very long, and now there is one left, just one. It is in the Middle East. So yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah,
That I feel like that was really smart of Barnes and Noble and Amazon to like make the Kindles and the like the Nook.
Yeah.
those e-readers where it's, you know, it's such a smart move, and those things, they like, I get it. Having a physical book where, books don't take batteries, it's books are nice. It's something you could tangible, you can hold it in your hand. And I think, as of recently, because again, with these like with Amazon and things like that, they're coming under fire. I know as of recently, because people are buying movies, like buying like the digital movie from Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you get rid of your Amazon account, you no longer have that movie.
Yes.
It's not like Amazon gives you like a download code so you can download this movie. They don't do that.
Yeah.
So Amazon is again coming under fire, where it's like you're not giving people, like, you're essentially renting the movie. Like, you have it in your like library as long as you have Amazon. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing with these books. Like, with Amazon, I can't say for certain. I don't have a Kindle or anything like that, but I don't think that they give you a PDF version, a downloadable version where it's your physical copy. You can put it on your computer, you can put it on your phone, like, you can do whatever you want with it. I don't think you do. I don't think that's a thing. So I think if Borders would have come up or had a solution to that problem, like if they were to still been around today, I think people might have, leaned a little bit more towards that, because I do feel like there's a shift right now where people do want that physical
Physical media.
media.
Yeah.
Yes. And I am guilty of saying that I'm one of those people. I
Me
have
too.
oh, that's awesome. I think I have well over 450 DVDs
That's
up on
amazing.
my, yeah, up on my wall. I love movies. I don't know what it is about it. But I'm starting to collect my VHS collection too. Those ones are a little bit harder to find, and you have to take a little bit more care of them just because of the film, obviously, and as
Yeah.
things age. But yeah, physical media. I think that's where we're kind of heading back to.
Yeah. I also have a pretty good DVD collection. I actually bought a PS3 recently, mainly just to like play old
Oh,
PS1 and PS2 games. But
yes.
I have Blu-ray, so I wanted to be able to watch DVDs and movies too. And I also have a VHS collection. This is weird.
Oh,
When I was like
nice.
12, I asked for like a I asked for like one of those combo DVD VHS players,
Yep, yep.
because I saw like a huge VHS collection that were going for like nothing. They were like a couple cents
Oh
each at
my
my library.
gosh.
And so I bought like a crap ton of them. And yeah, I still have them. They're in like some box outside my room in like one of these crate things. So yeah, I'm gonna go through them in probably the next couple weeks and see if like any of them still work.
Oh, please do. If you I don't know if I sent you over the link to our Discord server. If you could, please send pictures of like the movies that you have in there's one of the tabs or whatever is like photos
Yeah.
across the internet. If you could just post some photos of some of the VHSs that you have, that'd be awesome.
Sure. I think I've got like 3 copies of The Phantom Menace. I don't even know why. I just thought it'd be funny. Like, I thought I was gonna make some kind of funny joke video where I
Yeah.
destroyed like 12 copies of the because I didn't buy all the copies. There was like 12 copies of The Phantom Menace, and I
Holy
only bought
cow.
3 of them, but I don't know why. I guess people just don't like that movie on VHS, so they gave it
Well,
away
I
for nothing.
Well, okay, so, not to get off on too much of a side tangent or anything like that, but I feel like every Star Wars, like, everyone the generation has their Star Wars generation. Mine was episode 1, 2, and 3. I love
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I love those.
Yeah.
You ask people that are older than me and older than us and everything like that, they're gonna say 4, 5,
Original
6.
trilogy.
Yeah, and then again, you ask the newer generation what their favorites are, The Force Awakens and all that. So, yeah, I can see why there was so many copies.
Yeah.
But the
Uh,
last one that go ahead.
oh, no, I was about to ask if you wanted to share your next one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last one that I have is buffets. Not
Okay.
necessarily like the name of a store or anything like that, but like the all you can eat buffets. So buffets are closing due to the combination of pre-existing issues like a decline in appeal, high costs, and competitions from a fast casual dining with COVID-19 pandemic, delivering a major blow by highlighting hygiene risks and impacting the financial challenges. All you can eat model, forcing many, including large chains, to shut down or pivot their business strategies. So again, the reason why I wanted to bring this one up is because I feel like I don't see all you can eat buffets anywhere anymore. I think there are a few still standing, but it was something that I remember, I think like on Sundays or like once a week, we would as a family like go to these places, and it was just so fun to, as a kid, get the choice on what I actually get to eat. Because I feel like growing up, like kids, you don't really get to pick what you eat. It's whatever your parents make or,
Pretty much.
whatever the school provides you. So that's why I wanted to bring this one up. So again, some of the shifting dining trends. So fast casual chains like Chipotle offering fresh, made to order food, drawing customers away from the lower quality buffet options. I feel like for some buffets, yeah, they weren't the best, but again, maybe they were a little bit cheaper, but and again, like all you can eat, I feel like that was always a huge appeal. Is like I can, yeah, the food may not be like the best quality, but I can have as much of it as I want. So I don't know, like how much did you spend time around, or do you feel like you see all you can eat buffets
I
around anymore?
see I see Golden Corrals still. I see a lot of Golden Corrals, and
Okay,
then
yes.
I don't know about Hometown Buffet, but that was like pretty much the only other one. And then there's this one near the city I work in, and there's like a new one opening up, but it's not like a chain. It's just like a kind of like a new like a thing. It's like independent. So I see a
Okay.
few of them, but it's not like as like the ones that I do see for the most part are just chains.
Yeah, and I will say that too. Like I feel like whenever I'm on the highway and stuff like that, I feel like I still see Golden Corrals open, but there's like just some like other, because I remember there was always like a few all you can eat buffets. Like there was, yeah, a Golden Corral, but I always remember seeing like a couple other ones too. But yeah, I feel like they've just kind of all disappeared. Another reason why we kind of already hit on this with like the whole mall situation is like the health concerns with COVID-19. The pandemic exposed buffet layouts as risky due to the high touch surfaces, respiratory droplets from crowds, leading to FDA recommendations against self service. Operational difficulties. It became nearly impossible for buffets to maintain hygiene standards and proper distancing, while takeout and delivery didn't don't suit their model well. So yeah, that was something that I guess I didn't even realize was like a lot of all you can eat buffets, they never really had like a takeout type option for people, which I maybe if they would have switched to that, maybe there might be a few still open, but I think that might have been a business strategy or a way that they might have been able to combat the whole pandemic was like, okay, yep, we understand that like, social distancing, whatever, yada yada, we will do takeout stuff from our chain. And again, it's larger stores and everything, so you have to keep like again almost like wasting space because of all the building, the lights, all that. But maybe they could have survived a little bit better had they changed their model to that.
I would think so. Because I do remember going to buffets as a kid and just being like, I kind of want to like take this. I would mainly just be dessert. I would want dessert, and my parents would be like, okay, you can take like anything that you can wrap in these napkins, and I'd be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
because that was all they had.
Yep.
They didn't have take home. I think that probably would have helped a little more. Like if they just charged like maybe like I don't know like $1 or something for take home plates, and then you add that by the multiply that by the amount of people that come in all the time.
Or if they that too, or if they would have done something where like you can't take they can't take the to go plate up again, but whatever's on your plate at the end, you can get a to go box. Type of like that sort of
Mm.
situation where it's like, yeah, you can't go up there, but if go up there, get an entire plate, eat like a spoonful of rice. Oh, I'm full. All right, here's a to go box. Like they could have done something like that.
Could have worked.
Which again, maybe some did do that, but they still didn't survive. But yeah, again, that was just something that I wanted to bring up because it hit home as a child. And then so like the current situation, some chains like Golden Corral, like we had talked about, are experimenting with fast casual spin-offs to adapt, while others are focusing on specific items like crab legs to draw in crowds. Fewer options. The result is significantly fewer buffets, partially in places like Las Vegas, where they were once a staple. So I think, yeah, maybe that might be another business strategy where if they focus on maybe like, let's say, a Golden Corral down in the south near the coast. All right, let's put an emphasis on like the seafood aspect of this Golden Corral, or maybe something like that. Maybe they already do. I don't know, but that might be a way for making them survive.
Guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we will. But that's
I just oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go for it. No, I was gonna say that was all the stores that I had.
Okay. Yeah, I just got like one and a half more. One like full one that is definitely closed down, and then one more is like an honorable mention because I found out something about it like a week and a half ago. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The one that's fully no longer with us is called Best Products Company. It was started by a husband and wife team named Sydney and Francis Lewis. And the husband was an encyclopedia salesman who began offering additional items in like a catalog because catalogs are really popular back in the day. And
Yeah.
he decided on a showroom approach with a catalog kind of format for like displaying items. And at first, they were just normal, like just kind of like showroom stores, kind of very similar to what IKEA is nowadays, where
Oh,
they
okay.
would you would go around, just kind of like look at the store, and they'd already have like the prepackaged items that could be shipped to you after you'd order them.
Okay.
And in the 70s, they contracted this guy named James Wyans, who had an architecture firm called Sculpture in the Environment, or Site, to design 9 highly unorthodox retail facilities. And they look really cool. If you have the opportunity, just look up a couple of them right now. Just look up best uh, product company store design, and there are some really cool ones.
These,
Like they're really interesting. Like they really went above and beyond with the design. Like there's one with like a bunch of balloons just kind of like coming out of it, and there's like a it's like a crack at the bottom that makes you think like the store is being like broken open.
Interesting.
There's another one that like looks like essentially it's like a garage door. It kind of looks like a Sears from a distance, but then like you realize it's like it looks like the front of it is being like opened up like a garage door. It's so cool. There's one that looks like it's being broken up from the top, and there's just like parts of it spilling out.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I'm seeing what you're saying now. Yeah. Oh, wow. Those those look pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think that's like the peak of like store architecture. Like no,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has come close to doing what they did. But
Mm-mm.
the store was also really popular because they were kept in immaculate shape and management was like surprisingly caring. And by 1981, they had reached a billion in income.
Oh,
Uh and they kept the kind of business in the family like once they retired, and their son took over. But and things were going well for a little bit, but then like the growth came with the cost. Like the whole catalog warehouse store, aside from like IKEA nowadays, you really don't see it all that much. Like, Sears and stuff like that. They're pretty much gone.
yep.
And their son Andrew, he steps down. Stores begin shuttering. A new CEO takes control, and he's basically says to them, "This is like you guys have made like essentially $1 billion. You guys should have made like far less than that." And I think operating cost and everything is going to come back to bite you guys once this whole catalog thing fails. And he was right,
Yeah.
and so it did. And In 1990, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but they emerged from it in 1994. But they were down to $500 million in sales, and of course, most companies that do that don't usually come back. So they do file for bankruptcy again in 1996, and they didn't emerge. And the assets were fully liquidated by 98. Last check sent out, and yeah, basically the places don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
All the really nice buildings too. It's such a shame they're turned into like there's one that was like a pawn shop. One's a Target now. It's just like yeah, it's
Uh,
just really sad to watch.
yeah. Yeah, like those are I feel like just yeah, almost like just what you're saying, like the designs of those buildings were so unique that I'm surprised that, like they didn't become more than what they were. Now, again, do you think maybe do you think anything like with the emergence of like the internet and things like that, do you think if they would have like turned towards that, they could have like saved the company in a way? Or do you know if they started to, but it just was too late?
Well, by 98, like I wouldn't say a lot of companies were online. So I don't, maybe if they were able to stay around long enough for the internet to survive or internet to like really become what it is now, I think that really could have helped them. But
Yeah.
they were already like, again, like that $500 million, like, uh, lost is like a big, big number. So
Yeah.
I think they really just put a bandage over a gunshot wound.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. And then this last one is just like an honorable mention. It is Party City. Um,
Parties. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
yes.
So before them, there was just like no large brand party store. Um, the first one opened up in '86, and it was really popular. The Halloween costume warehouse they kind of like mentioned all their advertisements was really successful because people need to use costumes not just on Halloween but other times of the year, and
Yep.
most stores only carry them around Halloween time, so it was nice to just have a store just for that. But they actually their problems began pretty early on. Like 13 years into 1999, they failed to file their end of year audit and they were delisted by the New York Stock Exchange and their stock was frozen. Their founder stepped down. But there was a new team that was actually managed to like get them back up to where they needed to be, and
Yeah.
they had about 500 locations by 2005. But the same year, they're purchased by a private equity firm, and they were still doing really well. But then another firm acquired the company for 2.69 billion in 2012 through a leveraged buyout, which was very similar to the one I said for for Borders, where they
Yep.
literally just like they took out a huge like loan to buy the company, and then they saddled that company with the debt, which is insane that you can do that, hoping that it would
Mhm.
work out. And most people think that Party City like fell apart because of COVID, and that was really one third of the problem. The two big other issues were one, I don't know the last time you went into a Party City, but you'll notice there's a lot of stuff that you probably never even like give a second look. And that stuff is
Yeah.
filled throughout the store. There is way too much excess in that store. And like I remember there was one thing I was looking at where they had like 35 different kinds of the same tablecloth.
Yeah, that's, I the last time that I was in a party city, probably 10 years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago. But you just saying that though, it does I do feel like that's very accurate where, they had a lot of the same stuff. Now again, like, I was never hosting any parties, I never had, like, a reason to, like, buy a whole lot of stuff in there, but I do think that, again, maybe if they would've had more of, like, a variety or interesting, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that would actually be cool for a party," then yeah, or maybe, like, rather than selling just, like, the plates, the balloons, things like that. What I wonder if they would have been a little bit more successful if they would have like, you know, fog machines, lights, like, actual like turntable stuff, like actually turn it into like a legit like, oh hey, if you need party, like anything party related, like nightclub stuff, like, speakers, anything. And maybe towards the end, maybe they were doing that, but maybe if they would have turned it into like a more legit kind of like store, it might have survived.
Yeah. But the saddest one out of those 3, the final reason that they kind of fell apart was their largest source of income, and I did not know this, I would have never guessed this, was balloons.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yes, and there was a huge helium shortage that happened in the late 2010s, and, because of that shortage, they weren't able to sell as many balloons, and their stock fell about 67%
Holy
in
shit.
2019. I hate that it's a 6-7 joke, but yeah. Um, but things got worse in 2020 because their store is they can't do anything in 2020 because it's literally about like there's no part of their business. Even GameStop was able to pull that BS about being an essential business with their games and everything, but you
Yeah.
can't do anything with Party City in 2020. So the revenue dropped about $1 billion, and then the losses continued even like into COVID. And they also lost revenue to like pop-ups like Spirit Halloween and like
Oh
other
yeah.
big box stores such as Walmart. So like if you need a Halloween costume, just go to Spirit Halloween essentially. And if you need anything else that they have, they probably have it for cheaper in Walmart. And like I said, a lot of merchandise was just excess, so they filed for bankruptcy and they fell apart. But I went into a Staples. Weirdly enough, I
Oh,
went into a Staples 2
what?
weeks ago, and I'm just like, I'm trying to buy like a case or no, a charger, one of those portable chargers.
Yeah.
And I look to my right and I see a familiar sign that says, yeah, Party City by Staples. And I asked the cashier, what's that about? And she says, yeah, we're doing this new partnership with them, so they'll just be a part of it. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I guess we can buy school supplies and then also buy the costume. Just get that out of the way. Kill two birds with one stone. So
Yeah.
they're not dead yet, I guess.
Interesting. Or
Yeah.
is or is the merger gonna take down Staples now too?
Wow. I can't imagine that the Lakers playing in the get rid of the crypto arena and just call it the Party City Center.
Yeah, right. Ah, well, cool. Those are all pretty good ones that you had brought up.
Yeah. I think this is a good chat. Really appreciate you coming on for this. And I hope people come and check out your show. That's effing weird.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a great talk. Yeah, again, if anyone listening wants to check out that's effing weird. You can find us on all major platforms. We have social medias on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So just type in that is effing weird and it's probably one of the first ones. So thank you. Thank you again for having me on your show.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a great day.